The Adventures of Tom Sawyer, Chapters 1, 2, and 3. Tom. No answer. Tom. No answer. The old lady looked around the room. When I find you, She did not finish. With her head down, she was looking under the bed. Only the cat came out. She went to the open door and looked toward the garden. No Tom was there. She shouted, "You, Tom!" There was a little noise behind her. She turned and caught a small boy, stopping him before he could escape. "What were you doing in that corner?" "Nothing." "Nothing? What is that on your hands and face?" "I don't know, Aunt Polly." "I know. You've been eating sweets. I've told you 100 times not to eat those sweets." Her hand was raised in the air. It started down. It was very near. "Oh, look behind you, Aunt." The old lady turned round. The boy ran. In a moment he was up on the high board fence. Then he was on the far side of it. Please stop here and answer question 1. His Aunt Polly was surprised. Then she laughed a little. "That boy. I never know what he will do next, and he knows that I don't want to hit him, but I should. And if he does not go to school this afternoon, I must make him work tomorrow. He doesn't like work, especially on Saturday, when there is no school. He does not like work. All the other boys will be playing, but I must try to make him a good boy. He is my dead sister's son, and it is my duty. I must do my duty." Please stop here and answer question 2. Tom did not go to school, and he had a very happy afternoon. He came home late. He hurried to do his share of the evening work, and his brother Sid had already finished his share. Sid was a quiet boy who had no adventures and also no troubles. While Tom sat eating, his Aunt Polly asked questions. She hoped to learn about his afternoon. "Tom, was it warm in school?" "Yes, Aunt Polly." "Did you wish to go swimming, Tom?" Tom began to feel afraid. What did she know about his afternoon? No, Aunt Polly, not very much." She touched his shirt. It was dry, but Tom knew what she would touch next. He said quickly, "Well, some of us put water on our heads because we were hot. My hair is not dry yet." He watched her face. Yes, she believed him. Whew, he was safe, and Aunt Polly was glad to believe that he had been good. The summer evenings were long. Tom walked along the street, whistling like a bird. Then he stopped whistling. He had met a stranger, a boy a little larger than he was. The boy's clothes were new and good, and he was wearing shoes. Tom would wear shoes and good clothes like these only to church on Sunday. Tom looked and looked. The boy's clothes seemed to become better and better, and his own clothes seemed to grow poorer. Please stop here and answer question 3. Neither boy spoke. If one moved, then the other moved. But they moved only to the side in a circle. They remained face to face and eye to eye. Then Tom said, "I can beat you." "Try." "I can." "No, you can't." "Yes, I can." "No, you can't." "I can." "You can't." "Can." "Can't." A moment of quiet. Then Tom said, "I could beat you with one hand." "Do it. You say you can do it." "That hat." "Hit it off my head if you can." "I will." "You're afraid." "I am not." "You are." "I am not." "You are." More moving in the circle. Now they were shoulder to shoulder, trying to make each other fall back. And then, suddenly, they were both rolling in the dust. Each pulled at the other's hair, and each hit the other's nose. And now through the dust, Tom appeared, sitting on the new boy, beating him with hard, closed hands. "Have you had enough?" he said. The boy tried to get free. He was weeping with anger. "Have you had enough?" Then the new boy said, "Enough!" Tom let him stand up and walk away. But as soon as Tom turned, the new boy threw a stone, hitting Tom's back. Therefore Tom followed him home and waited. The boy did not come out again. His mother came and said that Tom was a bad child. She told him to go home. It was late when Tom got there. Very quietly and carefully he entered through a window. But his aunt was waiting for him. She had learned from Sid about Tom's afternoon. Now she saw his clothes and knew that he had been fighting. She knew what she must do. Tom would work all day on Saturday. Please stop here and answer question 4. Chapter 2. Saturday morning came. All the summer world was bright and fresh and full of life. Tom appeared in front of the house with a paint and a big brush. He looked at the fence, and all joy left him. A deep sadness settled upon his heart. The fence was long and high. He wet the brush and moved it along the top board. He did it again and did it again. He looked at what he had done. The painted part was very, very small, and the whole fence was very large. He sat down. He felt that he could not continue. Jim, a boy who worked for the family, came through the gate. He was going to get water, and he was singing happily. Tom said, "Jim, I will get the water if you paint." Jim said, "No, I must get the water." "Are you afraid of Aunt Polly? She won't hurt you. She talks about it, but talk never hurts. Never hurts except when she weeps also. You should not be afraid of her. Jim, I'll give you one of my playthings, and I'll show you my foot. I will show you where I hurt it." Jim was only human. He took the playthings, and he put his head down to look at the foot. Please stop here and answer question 5. In another moment, Jim was running down the street. Tom was painting as fast as possible, and Aunt Polly was returning to the house. But Tom began to think of the pleasure planned for this day. His hand moved more slowly. Soon the other boys would come and laugh at him for working. From his pocket he took everything that he owned. He looked at it. There was nothing of real value. It was not enough to buy another boy's help. At this dark moment, a wonderful idea came to him. It was like a great bright light. He took his brush and went quietly to work. Ben Rogers appeared soon. Tom had been especially afraid of Ben's laugh. Ben was eating an apple. Also, as he walked, he was making noises like those of a big riverboat. He would shout loudly. Then he would say ding dong dong like a bell. Then he would shout again and say ding dong dong again and make other strange noises. He was the boat, and he was the captain of the boat, and the boat bell. "Turn her!" he shouted. "Slower! Stop!" He made a slow, careful turn, came close beside Tom, and stopped. Tom continued his painting. He did not look at the boat. Ben said, "Hello, are you in trouble?" No answer. Tom moved his brush gently and looked at the result. Ben came nearer. Tom wished for the apple, but he did not turn from his work. Ben said, "Hello, you must work, must you?" Tom turned suddenly. "Oh, Ben, is it you? I didn't see you." "I'm going swimming, I am. Do you wish you can go with me, or would you rather work?" Tom said, "What do you mean, work?" "That is work." Tom returned to his painting. It may be work, and it may not be, but it's fine for Tom Sawyer." "Wait, do you mean that you enjoy it?" "Enjoy it? Does a boy have a chance to paint a fence every day?" Please stop here and answer question 6. Here was a new idea. Ben stopped eating his apple. Tom moved his brush, stepped away to look at the result, added a little paint here and there, stepped away again. Ben watched. He was more and more interested. Then he said, "Tom, let me paint a little." Tom thought. Then he said, "No, Ben. Aunt Polly wants this fence to be perfect. If it was the fence behind the house, you could help, but this fence beside the street must be done very carefully. There is not one boy in 1,000 who can do it well." "Oh, Tom, let me try. Only a little. I will be careful. Tom, I'll give you part of my apple." "No, Ben, I'm afraid." "I'll give you all of it." Tom gave the brush to Ben slowly, but with joy in his heart. And while the boy, who a few moments before had been a riverboat worker and became hot in the sun, Tom sat under a tree, eating the apple and planning how to get more help. There were enough boys. They came along the street, stopped to laugh, but remained to paint. After Ben, Bill Fisher painted. Then Johnny Miller came. Each one paid to be allowed to work. In the middle of the afternoon, Tom was very rich. He had many playthings, a small cat with one eye, a piece of broken blue glass, and much more. And he had not worked, and the whole fence had been painted 3 times. There was no more paint. With more paint, Tom would have soon owned everything belonging to the other boys, and the other boys in the village would have owned nothing. Tom had discovered a great law of human action. A man or a boy will desire something if it is not easy to get. Please stop here and answer question 7. Chapter 3. Tom went to report to Aunt Polly. She was sitting beside an open window. She was half asleep and she was holding the sleeping cat. She was surprised to see Tom. She thought he had run away from his work long ago. Tom said, "May I go and play now, Aunt?" "Already? How much have you done?" "It is all done, Aunt." "Tom, is that true? It makes me sad if you do not tell the truth." "It is true, Aunt. It is all done." She went to see, and her surprise was very great. "You can work when you want to, Tom, but you do not often want to. Go and play, but remember to come home again." And she gave him a large apple. She did not see him take a piece of cake as he passed to the kitchen. Please stop here and answer question 8. Tom hurried to the center of the village. There were 2 armies of boys had met for a battle. Tom was the leader, the general of one army, and his good friend Joe Harper was the general of the other. Tom and Joe did not fight. They sat together and sent their orders to the armies. When the battle was finished, they agreed to have another battle on another day. Then the armies marched away, and Tom started to go home alone. As he passed Jeff Thatcher's house, he saw a new girl in the garden. She had blue eyes and yellow hair. She was beautiful. Tom had loved a girl named Amy Lawrence. A week ago, she had said that she loved him. He had been happy and proud. But now, in a moment, she was gone from his heart. He watched the new girl until she discovered him. Then he looked at other places as if he had not seen her. Then he began to jump and dance and walk on his hands so that she would continue to watch him. She walked toward the house, and Tom's heart was sad, but she threw a flower over the fence. Then she was gone. Tom looked around. There was no person to see him. Slowly he picked up the flower. He put it in his shirt near his heart, and he stayed near the fence until darkness came. Please stop here and answer question 9. Then he went home to eat. He was full of joy. His aunt wondered why. Later that evening his brother Sid was a bad boy. He took some sweets, but his aunt did not believe that Sid could be bad. She gave Tom the blow that she should have given to Sid. She learned the truth later and was sorry, but she said nothing to Tom. Therefore, Tom was very sorry for himself. He began to wish that he would die. She would feel sorry then. He could see himself being carried home from the river, dead, his hair wet, his troubles past. He went out into the darkness and went to the river. It would be good to drown, if he could drown without pain. He thought of his flower and he took it from inside his shirt. Would the new girl be sad if he died? Would she put her arms around him, or would she turn coldly away? This picture brought him much delightful suffering. He kept it a long time in his mind. Then he started home. He stopped near the Thatcher house. There was a light in one window. Was that the new girl's room? He lay down on the ground below the window with her flower in his hands. He would lie there and die in the cold. In the morning she would look out the window and see him. But the window suddenly opened. He heard the voice of a woman who worked for the Thatchers. She threw water out of the window and it fell on him. Tom jumped up and ran. Sid opened his eyes and saw Tom ready for bed, looking at his wet clothes. Tom's wild eyes made Sid afraid. He did not dare to speak, but he would remember and tell his aunt. Please stop here and answer question 10.